Hello and welcome. I want to take a minute to go over this amazing console that we will be using so that you get the best experience during the webcast. This console is fully customizable. You can reshape, resize, and move all of the windows. The widgets for today's webcast are the presenter slides and media player, where you will view the webcast presentation. We have the Q&A to ask questions that the presenters will be answering throughout the webcast. The speaker bio will give you information on the speakers and links to contact them. And in the resources, you will find all of your goodies like your slides, your handouts, and your giveaways. The group chat is where you will chat back and forth with the other attendees. And if you want to tell somebody about this great webcast, but you don't want to leave and miss a thing, that is not a problem, because we have a suite of social media icons to choose from, so you can tweet and post about this webcast. You can even invite a friend with the Refer a Colleague widget, and you never have to leave the platform. The Help widget will open a new window to help you with technical difficulties that you may experience, and the survey will be used at the end of the webcast to let us know how we did, what we can do better, and topics that you would like to see in the future. To clean up your console for better viewing, simply click on the widget for the window that you would like to close. As a few last details, please remember to sign out of or disable all of your pop-up blockers. This is an audio broadcast, so to get the best sound quality, all of the sounds for this webcast should be coming directly through your computer. We are recording and you will be receiving a copy, but you will want to stick around for the live Q&A and special offers at the end. We are excited to have you here today. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy this opportunity to mastermind with your Originator Connect network.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the next installment of the Originator Connect Network webcast series. We've got an incredible program for you guys today that we're very excited to be able to present to you. A couple of quick things. This is going to be a very interactive conversation. We've got 3 expert panelists in the topic area of how to reconnect and recalibrate with a ton of repeat and referral business. That's the whole topic of the title here, is how to put your business on autopilot and how to maintain a consistent flow of steady leads that show up every month without question. By the way, this is intended to be a very interactive program. We want to hear from you. We want to know more about you as audience and attendees and participants in this conversation. And so to that end, as I introduce the speakers, I'm going to populate a couple of different poll questions that we'd like to get some response from you on, so we know who you are and what your likes and desires are. As we're going through the webcast program, as the pre-flight video indicated to you, the Q&A platform is really where we want to ask more of those detailed, specific questions. By the way, if it's a specific question for one of our expert panelists, go ahead and put their name at the beginning of your question. It'll help us direct the flow of it all. Secondly, if you do want to interact with your peers either across the hallway or across the country, feel free to use the group chat for success stories, posts about, or other additional more general questions that you'd like to get from other originators around the country, that kind of communication. If you do find, by the way, that you're getting a ton of value out of today's program and you want to share this program with anybody, up to and including realtors, financial planners, or insurance agents that could also benefit, feel free to use the Refer a Colleague widget for that. Those are some of your 3 best opportunities to get the maximum value out of today's program. So without further ado, I want to introduce our panelists very, very quickly. If you guys will take just a couple of seconds and answer some of the poll questions here that I populated as I'm introducing our speakers, that would be awesome. First up on the lineup today is going to be Mr. Chris Dreyer, who is the CEO and Chief Executive of Revalue, a self-proclaimed search and ranking addict, if you will, who has spent a tremendous amount of time and energy and probably one of the smartest guys I know about understanding behavior patterns. Chris, you want to say a few words to greet our folks today?
Hey guys, how's it going? Chris Dreyer, Evaluate CEO. I'm really pleased to be here with you today and excited to share some information and hopefully learn from the other panelists as well, just like you.
Absolutely awesome. Second on the block is going to be a good friend of mine, somebody I've known for many, many, many years, who I feel is one of the true experts. By the way, he was also a seasoned and very successful originator in a couple of different markets throughout his career. But Mr. Michael Erdman, who is the founder and CEO of MySmartBlog.com, has really specialized in how to create the right kind of message that keeps the attention of and gains the loyalty and credibility, not only with past clients, but with potential clients as well. Michael, why don't you say hey to the folks real quick here?
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. Again, I'm Michael Erdman, President, CEO of MySmartBlog.com. And thanks for taking time out of your day. As a salesperson, I know how valuable your time is. And so thanks for taking your time out to learn a little bit more to improve your business.
Absolutely, absolutely. And last but certainly not least, our third panelist today is a gentleman who is somebody who I've just recently met, but very excited about the potential benefit that he can share with our audience today, because not only is he a very seasoned and very successful mortgage originator and area manager and recruiter, but he's also the founder and developer of Whiteboard CRM. From my understanding, a CRM system that was built more or not based on Brian's frustrations with the lack of availability of pretty much anything else out there in the industry that really did exactly what he wanted it to do. Brian, why don't you say hey to the folks for just a second here?
Yeah, Eric, hey, thanks for that great introduction. Yeah, so I serve two roles, two full-time jobs. I'm CEO of Whiteboard CRM. In addition to that, I run a region inside Cornerstone Home Lending. We've got 22 loan officers, and they average about 200 units each per loan officer. And then I personally was a $100 million producer earlier in my career. And we really built Whiteboard as kind of a solution that we needed. We were struggling with the different CRMs out there, and finally I had a bit of a tech background, so I decided, you know what, I'll just build exactly what I want, what I think that loan officers need, and what's going to serve the needs of their business.
Absolutely, guys. So obviously, panelists and attendees, you guys can see that we've got quite the suite of experts here today, and I'm excited about the Power Pack program. Just to give you all a snapshot, by the way, our audience, we're about 80% seasoned veterans, 90% 7+ years experience in the industry as originators. We are about 82% originators on this call. If you guys are looking at the results, we've got a handful of other folks that fall into other categories, management and leaders from the management, sales, retail side. And of course, what percentage of your business, question of the day, what percentage? Looks like we had a little bit of a technical glitch there, a video starting before intended. That's all right. We've got about 20% in the category of less than 20% of your business is coming from past repeat or referral business. And then about 38% of the audience is getting about over 80% of their business from a repeat referral. So I'm guessing that the folks that are getting 20, 30% or less of their monthly business from repeat referral are here to learn more about how to do that. And those of you that are getting over 80% of your business from repeat referral are probably, I'm guessing, wanting to know more about how to be more efficient and consistent with it, and maybe even how to increase the productivity of it. So let's get right into the issue. I mean, what's the challenge, though, in the last 20 years is really the other big topic we've got to dig into, right? Well, here, we've got this short little video clip we'll play for you guys, that'll give you a little snapshot of what we're kind of thinking here.
Really?
It's kind of one of my favorite little clips that points out the whole idea of how information saturated we are today, and how, I mean, that's actually a commercial back from, I think, probably late 90s for a phone device that actually doesn't even exist anymore. But the whole point being, we all know that a short attention span theater effect, right? That's the challenge, is that the way in which messaging and communication with people has had to change and evolve over the years. I mean, let's be honest, the way people buy is different today than what it was 20 years ago. And more of the traditional marketing approaches of a lot of noise and excitement and energy just isn't cutting through the maze of information that we are having to fight through today. And as a result of that, the challenge becomes we have to find a different way of making connections. The other myth of it is just this whole idea of, just be likable, be out there, be social, right? Well, how's that working for you anymore? Is that turning into a lot of business? It might be fun, but how's it really working when it comes to generating a consistent flow of production? So the thing that we've got to really focus on here is, how do we go about creating that connection? The panelists, and really, Chris, I'm going to start kind of with you. The first real question here is, how do we make that connection? How do we recognize where the opportunities are and be in the right place at the right time, that Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com don't steal our customers from us? You've got some great insight for that, so I'm going to let you kind of take over. By the way, you're welcome to run your own slides through this part of the section, because I know you've got a couple of prepared comments before we go to a Q&A section.
Well, back in the day, people that have been in the industry for more years, back when newspapers were a thing, real estate professionals, mortgage prospect by opening up, and they would look for the engagements, right? And those were the people that they would be reaching out to. They'd be looking, unfortunately, at the ambulance chasing side of things, and they'd look for the deaths. And this was and the birth announcements, right? And this was how they would go out and reach out to people. It was very social previously too, at golf, at the golf club, at the church, wherever they wanted to be interacting with people. They were limited to that kind of group. Now that we have no newspaper and a much larger social network and many more contacts, it seems like the best method is to reach out and talk to everyone, but there's no way you can connect with everybody all the time to get all of that information. That's kind of the go-to method right now, Eric.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the reality is you and your company have developed some very unique insights, though, into how to recognize those patterns. So share with me a little bit about some of what, like some of the stuff that you've shared at some of the live presentations I've seen you speak with our audience, about just the need and how to, what is it that you're really looking for, and how do the originators on our audience find those moments of opportunity, right?
Right, yeah. So the slide that's up here, we know that you have to be present at the right moment. The timing is crucial. 88% of professionals, most consumers don't interview a whole bunch of mortgage professionals. Most consumers don't interview a whole bunch of real estate professionals. They go with the first or second person they go. And actually, it's really drastically skewed to the first person they interview, the first bank they work with or LO they work with, that they're going to go ahead and do the deal with those people. So there's quite a few problems. Let's see, I'll advance to the next slide here. There's quite a few problems that are out there in our business, in our industry right now, that are stacked against us. First and foremost, there's fewer people moving right now than at any time in our lives, which, just think about that for a minute. There's only 11% of the population moving, and that's the lowest number that we've seen in our lives. That's nuts, and it's getting worse. Compounding that problem, homeownership. Homeownership is at a historic low. And so I don't mean to be all doom and gloom this morning, but there's quite a few problems stacked against us here that we have to deal with. This homeownership stat isn't the lowest in our lifetime. It's just historically low. Still not a good scene. And your colleagues, there's many more originators, LOs out there than there were previously. And that, plus the fact that there's fewer movers, means basically there's more fishermen and fewer fish in the sea than at any point in our lifetimes. So this gets to be a pretty difficult situation real quickly. So the marketing tools that we use typically to reach out to those people, your direct mail, your email, your cold calling, neighborhood farming, even the online zip code leads that you might be buying, all of those are working with a slightly less efficiency rate each year as we march forward in time. They just don't work quite as well. It could be because those methods are kind of worn and tired, or it could be that because there are fewer people moving, they're still working at the same rate. It's just less frequent that they work. Not really sure why that is. But we do know that through consumer data, did someone want to jump in there? Cool. So with consumers, we know that they want to shop for a loan, they want to shop for a home, they want to do this research online. All of us on this web presentation want that, right? We want to shop digitally, but only 10% of lenders have that digital interface that is up to par with what consumers' expectations are, which is mind-numbing, as a fact that we're drastically underserving the people that want to use our services is really insane. But we also know this is a relationship-driven business, right? So this is a stat that Gary Keller from Keller Williams shared a year ago. 80% of commissions nationwide on the real estate side of the transaction happened from people in their network, and we believe that's a similar number on the mortgage side. It's people, we just saw that 80% of you said that it's repeat and referral business. That lines up exactly with this slide, right? So 80% of business is being generated from your network, from your database. Only 10% is coming from online zip code ads and such, right? That's insane because the amount of money that's being spent right now on the online ads vastly outweighs the amount that's being spent on your internal network, your database, your referral network. So those of you that are generating 80% of your business from your repeat and referral side of the business, awesome. You're definitely on the right path. So consumers are more demanding. They want more timely help. They want a better digital interface. They want a better deal. They want information faster. They want always the lowest rate too, right? So we'll go to this panel question, Eric.
So how do the originators of today overcome those issues of staying connected and recognizing those opportunities? Obviously, you've got some thoughts and comments specific to that. Share with us how you help originators do that as well, and how, I mean, even if you know they don't have your resources, what are some other things that they could be potentially doing to create that conversation and to keep that engagement and interest at the right time?
Eric, I'll go ahead and jump in here first. I don't know that I was supposed to, but I will. You know, the big budget media, you know, there was recently a movie come out, the Avengers movie, and I saw Quicken had like some of the Avengers in their little commercial that they were running on social media. And there's no way that any of us can compete with that kind of a budget. But what we can do that Quicken can't do, or a lot of these people can't do, is we can actually know our customers. We can create relationships with them. We can have meaningful conversation, and we can architect a business plan that is designed to not only do loans really well, but also engage with our customers really well at the right time, and maybe do some old school things, like maybe pick up the phone and call and say happy birthday, or maybe you know, wish them happy anniversary on the 1 year anniversary of buying a home, or things like that. And I think that everyone has gotten so busy and so focused on what technology can do to the origination process that they're forgetting about the human aspect and actually creating relationships and getting your clients to remember you and to like you and to trust you at a really high level. And that takes a lot of intentionality, it takes a lot of discipline, and it takes a lot of it takes a lot of organization to do that well with a big database, but it's extremely powerful and gives you huge ROI.
Absolutely, absolutely. Michael, I know you've got a lot of thoughts in relation to this area as well. What are some things that originators can do to be more relevant and credible with their audience, with their past customer base?
Yeah. And sorry, I missed that earlier, but yeah, thank you for asking the question. I think it's important to simplify a little bit. That was a great slide that Chris showed regards to where loans that actually close, that turn into a commission, come from. And it's been pervasive ever since, the first e-loan first started, long ago. There was a big fear that somehow digital marketing would overtake or replace the loan officer's job. And that's just never come true over the last close to 20 years. And so I think some of it is, I try to teach people the first thing to do to be able to get a great ROI is to quit spending money on things that don't work. One of the challenges is most people who sell technology into the mortgage and real estate space have never actually closed a loan or written a real estate transaction. They've never taken somebody through the process, both of attracting somebody into to become a client first, and then secondarily, what it takes to maintain that relationship throughout a transaction and actually get to the closing table. And so I talk a lot about this 4 levels of learning. A guy named Noel Birch back in the 70s talked about, you start with unconscious incompetence, which is when you just don't know what you don't know. And that's the worst place to be. You have no idea. And it goes all the way through the 4 levels of learning to where you get to what's called unconscious competence. And that would be someone like Serena Williams swinging a tennis racket, right? Do you really think that she has to think about how that works? She doesn't. It's just natural to her. And there's a lot of people maybe on this call that are experts in the mortgage industry, and you don't really have to think about how to take a 1003 anymore. The question you have to ask yourself with marketing is when you go and listen to tech gurus out there, and they're telling you the things that you need to do to get loans that actually close, you have to ask yourself, are they operating with expertise within this industry? Most of them don't have that expertise. So unfortunately, even though they might be experts at what they do, for instance, search engine optimization, pay-per-click marketing, online lead generation, they might be experts at that, even unconsciously confident. But the problem is, if they don't understand how you actually capture a real client that ends up closing, then they're operating within this industry in unconscious incompetence. They just don't know that they don't know. Therefore, they're telling you with your best interest in mind. However, they're leading you to the wrong universe, basically. So my thing is, you have to really go back and look at what is it that works in my business right now, what's worked historically, and then you start to build an online presence that reflects that and encourages the type of human behavior which actually turn into closed deals.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Chris, you've done a lot in the research science of how do we know? I mean, one of the questions that just came through the Q&A just a few seconds ago was talking about, okay, how do we know? I don't want to, as a loan officer, and I don't think any other loan officer wants to be overly salesy, right? And of course, what does that really mean? That's an exchange of value, right? If I'm giving enough value, I can enjoy that process. However, I don't want to be pestering my clients with stuff they don't need when they don't need it. So how do I know?
Yeah, that timing
Chris,
is
would you mind sharing a few thoughts on that?
Yeah, the timing is the big question. That's what my company Revaluate specializes in. Is since that newspaper is gone and we don't have the timing to reach up and give someone a hug or take them out to coffee when the timing is appropriate because of the lead source that is gone. Now it's really we need to alert the LO that this is the right time to go talk to them because of a life event. And this is not wasted effort. You need to go and reach out to them. And so the thing that we've really focused on are what are the causes, what are the things that happen, what are the life events that cause people to move? And you all know them, but we had to kind of refine that process. And I'm a big nerd and I love alliteration. So they actually all start with D's. And so the data D's, death, divorce, diapers, diamonds, diplomas, downsizing, the daily grind, discretionary income, dumpsters, all these things indicate with a high degree of likelihood that someone is going to move in a certain period of time. And at Revaluate, what our job is to go find that data out there, find that information and pull it down. And we actually build a profile for every prospect in your database. We build that profile up and we score those prospects on a 0 to 100 level. We find that data from 4 primary sources. So that data comes from government data, it comes from search data, spend data, which is anything that's not cash, which this gets really creepy, I understand, and then social data. And we build out those. It's true. This data is out there. Amazon is doing crazy stuff, selling things to you and having things ready and available for you right when you want it. That data is available for us in our business also, and that's what we are doing for the mortgage industry. How can we pull that massive amount of data in and find those life event triggers, find those behaviors, identify them, and score the prospects? So I'll show you an example here. We'll take a database and we'll stack rank it. So we'll say, of all the 100,000 contacts you have in your database, or 2,000 or 1 million, we'll take those contacts and we'll tell you who is the most likely to move in the next 6 months. If their score is above an 80 or above, that means they're more likely to move in the next 6 months, because we know those behaviors, those data Ds, indicate that they're more likely to move. So this is sort of contrary to the, go ahead, Eric.
Oh, no, sorry, you paused for a moment and I thought you were done talking for a moment. Go ahead, continue on.
I'm going to try to jump back here to slide 68.
I can help you with that.
I did that right. I think I got it there.
Yep.
One more back.
We can do that.
Okay, so this is sort of the old school method, the linear or the funnel approach that a lot of people have taken with leads, which is acquire the lead and work it until it either closes or it dies, and then you get rid of it. And what we're really starting to think about is more of a contemporary marketing approach to leads, which is that of a circle, a life cycle, if you will, right? This customer is going to repeat. Again, they're going to buy another house. They're going to work with some mortgage company down the line, or they're going to refer somebody else down the line. So how do you develop a relationship? How do you build this into a longer term deal so that it is through the whole life cycle that we're looking at? And so, yeah, in short, what Revaluate does is we prospect for you within your existing database. So in about, you send us a CSV of all your email addresses, and Revaluate will tell you who is most likely to move in the next 6 months, which is a pretty basic idea, but very complex to execute on, and that's what we've been able to do. I'm going to jump up to slide 74 here. There we go. So when we think about that life cycle, there are people using artificial intelligence, like Revaluate, in all the different segments that we just looked at earlier. They're doing it in the pre-app, they're doing it in underwriting, there's AI in closing, in post-sale, but at the top of that funnel, at the top of that life cycle circle, on the lead generation side, Revaluate now is offering artificial intelligence to predict who is most likely to move. Eric?
All right, so guys, the reality of it is that, okay, so now we understand the need, right? I mean, especially with what Chris shared about the 6Ds and recognizing when is the opportune time for a customer to need us. How do we then create the kind of messaging? And by the way, before we jump to the next session, folks, there were actually a couple of questions that I want to address, and I'd love if any of the other panelists want to chime in. You just want to let me know through team chat here. We can answer some of these questions, but basically, it's okay. So this is like when you go look for shoes at the DSW warehouse website or whatever, and then all of a sudden all of the shoe advertisements pop up on your Facebook feed, right? It's that kind of Google integrated data, right? That's tracking our shopping behaviors. And this is what, Chris, I've heard you talk about as predictive analytics. But for those of us who don't have billion-dollar budgets, how do we cost effectively get access to that kind of information and get our customers thinking about that kind of information about the people they spend time with and care about, right? Anybody who wants to chime in on that one, feel free to jump in here. Michael, Brian, Chris, either one, any one of the three of you, what kind of thoughts do you have for Mr. Max here with the how do you cost effectively get access to that information and data?
I mean, I would argue that our process is pretty cost effective. So, but that's a pretty biased source. So, but that's exactly what we're doing, right? We're taking that amazing amount of data, that insight, and applying AI to the data so that you can actually take action on the information that we're providing. And we're far from 100% accurate. We know that cold calling would be a 2% accuracy rate. So we're trying to say how much of an improvement on cold calling can we do? And we're 36.4% accurate. It's our rolling 6-month average from our customers. So we've got this thing dialed in. We continue to crank forward on it, but that is how you cost effectively reach out to these people at the right time. I believe Revaluate's one of the best solutions that you could hope to have.
It's certainly one of the most intriguing technologies I've seen. I mean, keep in mind, Originator Connect Network, we do 30-something shows all year long throughout all the different markets. And every time I hear originators, hearing Chris share information about it, it's certainly one of the more intriguing technologies that's evolved in the last couple of years that people are very excited about. And the reality is, I think that it's going to be an even evolving trend as we go down the pipe. All right, so folks, audience participants, feel free to chime in with the Q&A, post any questions or comments related to any of the stuff that Chris has just shared about. We're going to kind of move on to the next major section of the program, and this kind of falls really under the purview and expertise of Michael. So Michael, you might want to go ahead and get geared up to kind of take the reins here in just a second. But the main question here, guys, is what are the best strategies to build that credibility and remain top of mind? Because we always talk about marketing, right? You've got two basic styles of marketing. You've got the top of mind, just remaining, that when a customer has a need, they think to call us first instead of losing them to the Zillows of the world, right? The second is more of that direct marketing. I'm going to go after people who I think are going to have that need and help them understand why they should work with me versus a competitor. But Michael, you've got a lot of insight into that because that's kind of what you've been doing more or less professionally the last 12, 13 years, right?
So yeah, I mean, that's the basic idea. Going back against simplicity, you look at what already works in your business or has worked historically, and then you find solutions that support that. So I'll jump in real quick and share with you guys a little bit about what we've developed in order to help people to create more top of mind awareness with your network and to stay connected with the right people. So this is just a section out of one of my presentations called 7 Critical Steps to Dominate Online Marketing and Get Better Leads at Deals That Close and More Referrals. So this is a study, and this reiterates what you guys did on the poll earlier, I want to point out that the top 5 things in this study, which was a study specifically of loan officers who are closing transactions currently, and it's about 85% of those people, the top one is referral business or sphere of influence marketing. What's important, though, is the next 4 things also. So the top 5 in the results of again, deals that are actually closing, what's working in loan officers marketing, are all things that have to do with sphere of influence marketing. So second thing is professional associations and networking. Then there's email marketing. Of course, the only way you can send email, unless you want to just buy an email list and spam people, which is completely ineffective. But email marketing, you have to have trust with someone. Someone has to actually give you their email address and open up the door for you to communicate with them. So again, that's something that's definitely a network-based thing, someone that's in your sphere. Social media, another great way to stay connected. The explosion in social media really is because it's the best analog online for what are traditional offline relationships. And it's a way for people to stay connected together. So, and the last part is CRM, simply having a system in place in order to communicate with people on a consistent basis. So again, the top 5 things are all related to marketing to your database. They're all related to really focusing on the people that are in your network who already have some level of trust with you, who are then likely to go out and refer other people to come use your services. And then the next thing that would be kind of in that 20%, we're talking about the ocean, the fish, I use that analogy too. There's 20% of the deals that close are in one part of the ocean and 80% in the other. The 80%, of course, being repeat and referral business, the 20% being kind of blind online lead generation or other forms of traditional lead generation like telemarketing. They just don't end up closing. So would you rather fish in the 80% pond or the 20% pond? And of course, that sixth thing is buying leads. And so that's really the first thing that some people continue to do. Personally, I built my business off of repeat and referral business, and I think it's a lot more cost effective to do. There are a lot better clients to work with. They don't shop you for an eighth right the day before closing, and so just easier to deal with. But real quick, I'm going to go through a couple of ideas for you. The best application of, let me jump up here to this next slide. So the best application of technology is to support and amplify what you already know works offline. And so what we did is I go back and I like doing things like looking at social behavior, looking at human behavior. How do people interact with each other? How do they make decisions? And then you try to reverse engineer that. I call it brain hacking. Reverse engineer that, and so that you can start to insert yourself at those points when they would make those decisions, and then make sure you have the right kind of presentation that continues to build trust. Now, real quick, back in the day before the internet existed, and if you were doing referral business, there's this thing that happens between a person who's been referred and the person who's getting referred, and the third party that's making that referral creates what's called a bridge of trust. The reason that referral marketing works so well is that in this escalator of trust, how you earn trust with people, through a referral, you actually start way up at the top. So there's a high level of trust right at the point of introduction. And so before the internet existed, that was just a natural process. You'd get referred, someone would pick up the phone and call you because they really didn't have any option to second guess that or to investigate further. So you think about what happened with the internet that actually changed your business. And I would argue that it's not things like those search engine optimization or even competition with sites like Zillow and Google, because they're really ineffective at actually converting into closed transactions, even though they're most effective because of scale at generating the most numbers of leads through this traffic. What really happened in terms of human beings is the internet it literally changed the way people think. So there's this massive paradigm shift that I'm going to explain to you, which critically affects your business, especially with regard to the most important clients that will close. And so I'm going to give you an example. I always like to take it back to people's own experience. So everyone on this call likely at this point has shopped at Amazon. Amazon was the leader in terms of using third-party testimonial evidence with products and services in order to sell the product. And I want to give you an example. The last time you went to Amazon and you looked for a product, I don't care if it was a $5 widget or a $500 generator or something, ask yourself this question. Did you go to the ratings reviews, the testimonial evidence from the third parties that were looking at the same product or purchased it, and look at what they said about the product before you actually bought it? Now, when asked that in live presentations or webinars, and I get poll results, it's 90 to 100% of the people are saying, yes, I absolutely do look at those things. The interesting difference between what used to happen in regard to referral business and what happens now is that the referrals that were made in a local market before there was an internet, there were people that actually knew each other. You have to ask yourself the question, of those people that left ratings, reviews, and testimonials on Amazon, did you actually know any of them? And the answer is no, of course not. So there's this big paradigm shift that happened where people have learned that they can actually go and validate even referrals. The strength of the referral has been weakened a little bit because people now can go online and they can actually validate that information. Now, let me give you a couple of examples. These are actually, you've probably heard of these companies before, Yelp, TripAdvisor, and Angie's List. These are all billion-dollar companies today, and they literally were grown through the idea of third-party reviews. So once again, the reason that those sites work and they've grown to do the things that they do is people have been trained that they can research online and they can actually get the information that they are looking for, verify things like referrals before they actually have to talk to a salesperson. So this really is the thing that has become your almost enemy in terms of preserving your own business or even growing your business as you get those referrals. So everybody now is packing around this supercomputer in their pocket. They're able to immediately Google search whatever they want in the world to be able to find more information. And so the number one thing that you actually need to have search engine optimization for is your name. The reason I say that is because if someone types in your name into their cell phone right after the point of referral, they have a very high likelihood of actually moving forward to a deal with you, as long as they find the information that proves to them that the referral was a credible one. And so that period of time, guys, between when that referral is now made and when that person picks up the phone is what I call the credibility gap. And that credibility gap is literally the single most important thing that's happened in your business that will affect your ability to continue to control those referral relationships and gain those clients that are 80% likely, or 80% of the people that produce this business that turns into commissions. So when you think about that for a second, you ask, okay, well, if that's the case and that's what people are going to do, how do I then close that credibility gap? Well, I think you have to focus in the right area. And I call this the gold standard. Most people in online marketing teach things like quantity of clicks. The more traffic you can get to your website, the better. The better you can do with search engine optimization, with terms in your local market, you can get more clicks from Google. Therefore, you're going to do better. And the reason that those don't work, again, is because they start at the lowest level of that trust escalator. And you then have to have this really strong online conversion process in order to get them to convert into a client. So that's the very reason that it usually takes anywhere from 12 to 24 months to incubate somebody. And it absolutely just doesn't work. So here's what we did is I'm going to provide this to you by the end of the presentation for free. I developed a 7-step model. This is the Experienced Mortgage Professional's Pathway to a Profitable Online Presence. And it literally will tell you step by step what you have to have in place in order to when that most valuable prospect searches for your name. It's how you actually walk them through that trust escalation model in order to ensure that they pick up the phone and call you. You're all going to get this for free as a download at the end of the presentation.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, guys. So there's a section here where we're going to kind of go to Q&A for just a moment. Audience, as you guys are typing in the Q&A, if you'd like, specifically Michael to respond to this, or any of the other two panelists, or myself to respond directly, go ahead and post that as you're posting the question. Michael, a couple of the questions that came through is, obviously you've spent a lot of time and energy working to craft a message. I also know from personal experience working with you, you're really a student of human psychology and what kind of messaging works versus what kind of messaging is a turnoff. And there's been numerous questions come through the Q&A that basically are that same question. Would you mind sharing a few thoughts on that? Just some basic, simple bullet points of what they should be thinking about putting in or leaving out.
Yeah, so here's the thing. The first rule kind of communication these days is people in general, they never have like strong salespeople. You can think about the used car salesperson, right? That's really pushy and overzealous. The reality is people like to be educated. They like to be communicated with. In terms of communication, we do content marketing for loan officers all over the country and have done that for now 10 years. The reality is there should be a mix of content. There's a minuscule part of your database, the people that are most critical, they're actually even going to be interested in what's happening in the mortgage industry at any period of time. Let's call it 98% of people are not going to be actively looking for it in a transaction. So you really have to kind of broaden your content and make sure it's both engaging to people no matter where they are kind of in that purchase cycle, things that are like home ownership content or even local interesting content, local events. But here's the one thing that's most important is again, with the caveat that as long as you're not really pushy and salesy to people, that's the last thing you need. Think about this for a second. If 80% of the transactions that close in our industry come from repeat or referral business, do you really have to go out and push these really strong sales messages? Or do you just stay in touch with people, remind them of your professionalism, who you are and what you do, stay in contact frequently enough so that then when they get into that offline referral conversation, you're the first name that pops in their head. We know that that's actually what works. And this is the thing I learned it long ago when I started my career. I learned that, hey, that was back in the day before the internet, guys. So it was like we sent a mailed newsletter. That thing was like an ATM machine for me. Every month I'd mail out my newsletter, and every time after I mailed it, the phone would ring with referrals. And the reason was that I was just staying in touch with people consistently, and they remembered who I was, what I did, that I served them professionally, that they could trust me. And so when we transition into this online marketing space, the key is it doesn't really matter what the content is as long as you don't turn them off so that they unsubscribe or they try to eliminate their communication with you. What really matters is that you have a process in place, and I would tell you that it's important to be systematic about it and that you stay in front of them consistently. And I want to go back to Chris's point or the question from Max, because I wanted to comment earlier on this, but for you guys, for your own benefit, look, the question was, how do I cost effectively get this? There's a saying, it says, either you have an assistant or you are one. The beauty of technology, and if you really want to ramp up your business and get into where you're six figures, multiple six-figure income, seven-figure income, you can't want to go be experts in everything. You have to be an expert in what you do. The most cost-effective way that you can start to harness this stuff is go find either a person or a system. And I would encourage you to look for automated systems that you can employ, like Revaluate, in order to access that data at a reasonable cost, because it is egregiously expensive to try to go and build it or do any of this stuff yourself in one of two ways. It's either going to cost you in money, egregiously expensive if you try to do it yourself, or it's going to cost you in time. And I would argue that time is your most valuable asset and you shouldn't waste it. So I'll leave it there.
Awesome. Audience, a number of great questions coming through. Just in the interest of time, by the way, if you do have any additional questions about the type of content or the messaging, or at the end, I know all of our panelists have special offers for you at the end of the event that you'll be able to take advantage of, exclusive discounting for our webcast audience. However, if you do have specific questions for Michael, continue to post those in. In the interest of time, we're going to migrate to the very next question, which is, okay, what systems do exactly what Michael said, which is make that an efficient process? We all know how labor intensive it can be to make 100 phone calls and talk to 98 people who have zero interest in doing anything with you. How do we streamline that process and be able to have an interactive conversation with thousands of customers without it being another 2 or even 3 full-time jobs? And that's kind of the expertise of Brian. I'm going to head to you, obviously a $100 million a year producer. You probably have this pretty well figured out, right?
I think when you're talking about your business, it needs to always be, you need to always be pushing to improve whatever. You need to always know your data, always know your metrics, know where referrals are coming from. So you can't ever really be 100% content. Obviously, without sounding too self-serving, we built Whiteboard for that very reason, so that we could always be refining our process in a quick and easy deployable fashion. But so obviously Whiteboard would be a recommendation, and the other two, Chris and Michael, I love the tools that they've built as well. But I do want to really pinpoint something Michael said, and that is the value of automation. I talked to loan originators today that still have an Excel spreadsheet that's got 1,000 names, numbers, email addresses, and things like that, and they're just kind of open that thing up daily and trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to do today? Where can I go and try to create some sales activity or something like that? And that's, with the technology that is available today, that approach to managing your database and your past clients, it's just no longer acceptable. There's so much better tools that can go, and really automation is a word that I love, because automation is using technology to go and execute tasks for you consistently every single time. And what I find that most loan officers who try to do great things, it falls off when things get busy, when it's the middle of July or August and we're at the peak months. All their activities and their disciplines start to wane, and then they get back on them in January when things are slow. And automation is kind of the answer to that, because automation, the things that you want to do and the things that you want to happen to achieve success, they're going to happen every single day, regardless if you're totally slam busy and working 80 hours or if it's the middle of January and the phone's barely ring. That automation is going to be like an assistant. And, and I don't know the pricing of like Revaluate or whatever, but pretty much any technology that I've ever seen, if it can take work off me, the ROI is tremendous, because I can take that time and focus it on building my business back up and bringing more business in the door. And this is still a business that generates a lot of revenue off one transaction. So if I can focus on getting more transactions in the door and not on just working my database, then I'm going to be a lot more successful and a lot more productive.
Awesome. So you've got a couple of key elements to this that you've talked about. Some of what are the mechanics of it? What are the best? I mean, if you don't have the time to build out your own complete CRM system off a Salesforce platform, what's the cost-effective, easy option or opportunity? I mean, in fact, Brian, you've provided a wonderful gift for our audience. By the way, audience, you can access all of the tools and materials. If you haven't checked out the resource list in your webcast platform, please do so, because there's a lot of really valuable stuff. And one of the pieces you provided for our audience, Brian, is this playbook for loan officers of how to set up and build an effective and efficient contact management and client retention and referral mining system.
Yeah. So we've got a free ebook. It's called How to CRM the Right Way. And I've got strong opinions. I had a technology background before I got in the mortgage business. My first 5 professional years were in the technology business, and we really use a lot of automation and use technology to make us more efficient. So we do have some opinions and some ways to be helpful, but really the big problem that I would run into is every time that, and we tried dozens of CRMs in my first 5 years in the business. And the problem that I would run into is I've got a big high tech acumen. I've got a big vision of what we wanted our business plan and our model to look like. And we would buy a new CRM, and it might take 120 hours of me on nights and weekends to finally get the thing dialed in and do exactly what we wanted it to do. And then, of course, as I started to grow and bring other loan officers into my branch and my region, we just simply couldn't scale that. It was too time intensive. So Whiteboard does a lot of things differently than a lot of different CRMs. Probably the biggest thing is that it was built by a guy who is in the business today, i.e. me, and it was designed by what I think that loan officers need and what they want, because that was just what I didn't find. I forgot if this Chris or Michael said a lot of the technology solutions out there simply aren't built by mortgage guys. And I agree with that. And I think there's a big disconnect. But the next problem that we wanted to solve is I believe CRM should be really powerful and should automate your entire business plan. But most people don't have the skills to go and articulate that and build that out. And if they do, they certainly don't have the time. They don't have that 120 to 160 hours to go in and set everything up, to customize it, to build all the campaigns, to program in automation and workflows. And so, the first thing that we did is we built a playbook that somebody can come in and they can build that out themselves. But if they don't want to or they don't know how to, we install a playbook that's very similar to what I use and run my mortgage practice on in a day in and day out basis. And we set people up with a click of a button. And so I'll kind of go to the next slide here. But our playbook technology, when we set you up, we preload everything, all the data forms that you need, everything you need to be tracking, all the automation, which automation, again, is huge. It's a big word that I'm going to use a lot, where the system is monitoring all your data, and it's deciding that, hey, these 3 people met new data requirements and new criteria. And so we want to deliver an email message to this one, or I want to send a text message to this one, or I want to delegate a task to my assistant to call and say happy birthday, or to check in with this realtor, or to call, or to do this. And so automation it's kind of like AI, but it's monitoring your entire database, and it's taking changes in the data, and it's acting without you having to go and physically do something. And so the playbook's going to install all that automation around all those campaigns, and not just the campaigns, but the cadence. And if there's a phone call needed, the scripts that are going to, that you need to deliver when you make that call, all the actions, all the content, and some of our campaigns have 80 different actions scheduled out over, 1, 2, or 3 years. And so it's going to install that. You don't have to know how to do all that. And you just basically log in every day, and it's going to go do things automatically for you. And it's going to tell you, okay, today you need to do these things. And we're not saying that our playbook is the absolute, perfect, the silver bullet. If you want to go and change that, you're free to. If you want to add your own stuff, take some stuff away, that's fine. And then the next thing that we really focus on is ease of use. Again, I think that usability and ease of use and ease of adoption should be the number one thing on anyone's technology checklist. Technology in today's day and age needs to be easy to use, and it needs to be modern and look and feel good. Manage all your borrowers and partner relationships, knock out all your tasks fast. And then one of the most exciting things we've put a lot of time and focus on is SMS text messaging. We're finding we're getting massive results by using SMS text messaging to engage with prospects and pre-quals and borrowers. And it's funny, we may get a new lead, not even like a Zillow lead, but actually someone who comes onto our website, or a realtor sends an email and says, hey, please call Cornerstone and talk to Brian. And we may not be able to get them on the phone 2-3 tries, but we can get in there and we can send them a text message, and they'll respond in 5 minutes. And so we're getting incredible results with SMS text messaging. Of course, the problem with most text messaging, especially if you have a team, is that it's done on your phone. And so you have to give your phone to the rest of your team, and they've got access to every text message you get, not just the ones that deal with clients. And so we actually built a team-based texting app right into Whiteboard. It does engage both with automation and automatically deliver text messages at the right time with the right message, but it also has a conversational aspect as well. So if a client replies to it, it's going to log that in the conversation notes, and then you can go in, and your entire team can be engaging with your clients and your referral partners through one online dashboard at any given time, and you don't have to give your iPhone or your Android to the people on your team.
That's pretty awesome. In fact, Christy, we need technology like that. How many times do I whine and complain about the the slowness of texting on my phone, and how she can access my phone to send messages to folks for me? That's pretty great information, Brian. In fact, you even had kind of a poll question. I'd actually love to kind of find out informally from the audience, how many of you guys are using text effectively? How are you utilizing text messaging? Because again, we got to talk about, the way in which we communicated. I mean, I know when I was originating in the late 90s, newsletters were the thing, right? I mean, we'd send a monthly newsletter. We'd send the other half of the month, we'd send a, recipe postcard. We'd send birthday gifts. We'd do client appreciation events. We would do all kinds of things to try to stay connected with our past client. But it was much more of that local, networking, chamber of commerce style marketing. That's not how people operate today. It's so hard to get people to show up to live events today. Texting is the way that we communicate today. And you just think about the response rate difference from, I'm sure every one of us as panelists, and pretty much all the audience, I would have to assume, probably does the same thing with their email inbox, right? You scan the hundreds of emails that come in every day, and you look for the 2 or 3 that matter to you, and you bulk delete everything else, right? Yeah. We don't do that with texts, right? Not yet, anyway, and who knows when that will change. But how are y'all using text, right? Quick answer on the poll questions for us here, guys, if you wouldn't mind. And let's talk. Let's see what kind of the field is looking at here. This may even, by the way, be a new topic for a future webcast. Christy, ding, ding, ding. All right. So, guys, in the interest of time, I know we've got a ton of questions coming. I'm sorry, Brian, did you have another thought to share with that?
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to give a new kind of an example. Let's say you're at a luncheon with a realtor or whatever, and you do buy Zillow leads, and a new Zillow lead comes in. You can use automation while you're at that lunch without having to pick out your phone, where a system can go out and automatically text that client and say, "Hey, thank you so much. I got your information. When can we talk later today?" And you don't have to type that out. It can go out automatically within seconds. And the client doesn't know that you didn't send that a system sent it, but they're going to respond. They're going to say, "Hey, how does 4 p.m. Sound, or 3 p.m.?" And you can go ahead and get that scheduled. You can even include a link if you use Calendly or Schedule Once. You can include a link right in there where they can go in and get that scheduled. And that's the power of automation. We've sent hundreds and thousands of messages while I was in meetings talking to big groups, and I didn't have to do anything. And using text messaging is, it's so powerful right now. I think it probably will get diluted in time, but today it's incredibly powerful.
Right, especially when you're sending it to a known audience and those kind of things. All right, well, guys, I know one of the questions that we've been seeing a lot of traffic coming through with the Q&A on just how do we get in touch with each of you, especially right as we're getting very close to the top of the hour. By the way, audience and panelists, if you do have the ability to hang with us for a couple extra minutes, we might tackle a few more questions after we get through this next section. Biggest question is, we got a lot of questions about how they access you guys and your systems and the value that you can create for the audience. I'm just going to rip through this, guys, 30 seconds. Chris, you had a specific offer for the audience, with your, with something you guys are going to do. So I'm going to have Chris jump in here first and kind of share, the special offer that he's got for the audience members today.
Yeah, where can they find the special offers right now, Eric?
Yeah. Yep. We've got the slide up on the screen for you. Just talk them through it.
Great. Yep. Yeah, so the data detox and dedupe, you guys know that I'm a big fan of the Ds, right? So we'll basically take your database and alliteration, baby, alliteration. We'll take your database and we'll detox it. We'll pull out the Bart Simpsons, we'll pull out anything with profanity, bad email addresses, we'll dedupe your contacts, and we'll do that all for free so that you have a nice, clean CSV. And you can do that right now. It takes about 60 seconds. to upload your list, and Revaluate will process it. And that's the URL you can visit, is the revaluate.com/try it. And I believe we also have a little info sheet that we uploaded to the system as well, Eric.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, there's some additional tools and resources. Don't forget to go to the resource tab list and download the information about Revaluate and their free data scrub offer, as well as Revaluate has an upcoming webcast that we're going to be doing where they're going to be doing a deeper dive into the science behind and methodology of predictive analytics on, I believe it's October 26th. There's a direct link that Christy will post up in the Q&A in the group chat here in just a bit. Otherwise, if you need more information to get in touch with Chris's team, it's here on the website. By the way, you'll also be able to download the PowerPoint from the resource list, and we can send that out with the follow-up emails here. Michael, go ahead and hop in. I know you've got some special stuff for the audience today as a thank you gift for joining us in today's event.
You bet. Yeah. So what I mentioned earlier is there's this roadmap. It's the experienced mortgage professionals pathway to a profitable online presence. 7 specific steps that we call the credibility markers in order to create the right online presence to be able to convert those most important repeat and referral clients. And so you're going to get that in the download section. There's a second part of it that actually gets into a little more depth and explains each one of those. And then one of the offers that we have for you is I call what we do kind of the easy button process. We build, host, and maintain a website, write and publish your content, syndicate to social media, build automated email newsletter systems, and goes into even through ratings, reviews, and testimonial software. So a complete online suite of services that you literally fill out a short form, and then we build everything out, including professional graphic design. So what we did is for any one of our packages, you can go to the website at mysmartblog.com/packages. The setup fees that range from $100 to $997 for the full 7 steps basically implemented is about $1,000. We took 50% of that off. You can use the promo code FAST50 and immediately save up to $500 on the setup fees. And love to be able to serve any of you in the future. And if you have any questions at all, go to the website, check it out. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. And got my email address on the slide there, as well as my direct phone line. You can also, though, be able to download this, as Eric said, and get in touch with me at any point in the future. So anyway, thank you guys for showing up, and look forward to working with each and every one of you.
Definitely. All right, Brian, you've got some special offers for the audience as well. Again, a thank you gift for joining everybody for joining us on today's event.
Yeah. So first of all, for free, you guys can get a book on what we call how to CRM the right way. And that's in the content package. If you guys are interested in looking at Whiteboard right now through the show here, we'll give you, with the CRM, we'll give you 3 free months of our texting platform with all the conversational and automation texting built into it, as well as half off our setup. And setup is what that really is we actually schedule 6 coaching calls to walk you through how to get the CRM set up, how to use it, and how to get value out of it, as well as we take all of your historical database and we go and we clean it up, we get it all nice and pretty, and we go and get it uploaded so that all those campaigns and all that automation can get started automatically for you, and you don't have to do anything. So kind of that easy button concept like Michael talked about. But if you're not ready for that yet, just download the ebook and get some value out of that. And we're totally great with that.
Absolutely. All right. And so, guys, my focus and obviously our whole approach here at the Originator Connect Network is giving you as much value as you can. We provide content. Boy, we could have done probably a 3-hour webcast on this. I know our panelists have all chimed in that they're going to be able to stick around for a few more seconds here. But the one thing we really all like to ask you, and we've made it real easy for the audience, if you want additional information about any of the panelists' services or products, all you need to do is click on the webcast opportunity. You can check the one that you most want to hear about first, or if you want to hear about all 3 of them because you know you need all 3, you can take care of that by just posting in the poll question here. From an implementation standpoint, the one thing that we always want to encourage you to do is take action and initiative and do something. Pick one thing that you can do that is going to put another layer of automation and another layer of increase in volume and efficiency to your business as we go through this. I said we're going to shift back to Q&A here just briefly and try and knock out a couple more of these questions for folks. We did have a couple of really, really good ones on that I want to make sure that we comment on. The first one, Brian, actually targets you almost directly, which is, he's talking about, I hate using business for text. It gives him a lot of concerns about, compliance as well, and it's not easy to keep track of text messages as emails. He's intrigued by your system. There's some recent commentary that's been mentioned to me about the compliance risks, particularly if we're going to try and use texting for large-scale broadcast messaging, even to a cold audience. Would you mind addressing some of that real quick?
Yeah, so partially, I love kind of the purity of text messaging and where it is now. So we don't do a lot of big broadcast text messaging where we send out one text to 10,000 people or anything like that. Really what we're doing is we're timing a lot of our text messaging in with our funnel and our process. So when we get a new lead or a new prospect, it's a one-off. Also, it's very important that if you're doing what's called application to phone, A2P texting, that you have to give them the ability to opt out by replying with the word stop. It's a legal thing. And also on your website, wherever you're getting your leads from, if you have online application software, in your little submission button, you need to get the permission of them to they're allowing you to send them SMS texts. I don't know that anyone doesn't have unlimited texting anymore, but some of the rules are kind of based around the fact that in the old days you had to pay per text, and so you had to give people the ability to opt out, and you had to get their permission and things like that. We don't send a big bulk list of it. All of it's much more conversational and designed to engage, and we don't, we're obviously not going to get into the meat and potatoes of, loan options and interest rates and things like that over text message. Once it gets to that point, we are going to use it to just get on the phone with them. One other thing that I will add, that one of the big challenges of using your phone to text message someone is that most phones are going to have a limit to how long they're going to carry those text messages, depending on what, if you're Android or iOS or whatever. But at some point, those are going to be gone. And with Whiteboard, the texting platform is going to log the conversation all the way back. And if your team is engaging with the client via text, it's going to log all the communication back and forth so that anybody can go in at any time and kind of see what's been said and what's gone back and forth. And again, if a client doesn't want you to text them, we have a really well-crafted message early on in the process that tells them how they can opt out. It seems conversational. It doesn't come across like an automated robotic thing. And sometimes people do, and that's fine. They don't want you texting them, and you've got to honor that with all the laws and stuff that are around it.
Correct. All right, last one, and I'm going to throw this out to everybody, and I think I'd love to get commentary from all three of you, because all of you are experts in the field of marketing and client retention and referral marketing, is the new LO question. I don't have a huge database, or I'm an experienced LO, but I haven't kept track of my database. One of those, I wish I had done better at, the first 10 years of my career. I've lost how many thousands of customers, right? I'd like each of you to address that, and I guess I'll start with Michael on this one. Any suggestions, ideas, or thoughts for somebody who just is brand new to the business and doesn't have a huge database of past customers yet?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: is there's no silver bullet, right? So this is you got it. It's a bit of a process to get momentum rolling, to be able to grow a database. People, I think, get lost in the idea that they have to have somehow people that are only mortgage related in their database in order to have a database, and they miss the fact that it's the people that they've built trust with in their life previously that are going to be most likely to do the referring of them. And so the process really is there's no automated way. There's no software that you can buy to effectively do this. This is the hard work of starting your business. But you have to look at who are the people you're connected with in social organizations, churches, charitable organizations you've worked with in the past people that you've worked with in other jobs before you got into the mortgage industry. Obviously, friends and family. Look at your friends list on Facebook. Look at people who are professionals in other industries who carry a lot of weight. In other words, if it's a doctor, a lawyer, a CPA, an attorney, some of the other people that they have a sphere of influence that other people look up to. And what you have to do is you have to put as many of those people into the initial process Literally, it's going to take reaching out to people, connecting with them, letting them know what you do, asking to add them to your email newsletter list. Again, using a CRM system like Whiteboard in order to then, once you have them and have their permission to communicate, do that effectively. And you really have to use that. And the key is, over time, you start to continue then, as you do more deals, you add the people who are most likely to refer. You start to cull that list. You really want to get to at least 300 or 400 people in a list. That becomes where you have what I call the mortgage annuity. It's going to keep paying you over and over again. But the key is you got to keep communicating. I will say that the seventh thing that we use in that pathway is audience retargeting. And it literally is probably the single most effective way that you can stay in front of people in an automated way, especially because it's through the process that they're going to be going through anyway. In other words, when they go and they get on they're looking up a chili recipe, it's one of the examples I used in my presentation, your face can pop up in front of them because you have them either pixeled from visiting your website or in a custom audience list. So those are ways, once you have an audience, you can start to really amplify at a very, very low cost, start to amplify your presence in front of them. But the key is there's no shortcut getting started. You have to put as many people on a list as you can and start communicating with them to let them know who you are and what you're doing.
Yeah,
absolutely. Great suggestion. Great suggestion. Chris, I know your system does a great job of trying to help people monitor an existing database. But if, we used something like that with Michael's suggestion, expanding to one, your past life contacts or community involvement connections up to and including social media network, church, friends, family, social organizations, that kind of thing. Chris, would that be something that your system would allow somebody to work with? Could they even take that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, okay. Our what we call a unique identifier is the email address. So as long as you can acquire an email address, we don't need anything else. So as long as we have an email address, we're able to start tracking and analyzing and building a profile for those people. A couple of our customers have brought some, in addition to what Michael was suggesting, if you have a homeowners association and you're irritated because they assess you fees for whatever, get on the homeowners association. There's a whole list of email addresses of people in your neighborhood that you run into all the time that you could add to your database. LinkedIn and church and golf, those were all mentioned. The biggest one, the easiest one to do that doesn't require going to monthly meetings at the homeowners association is your old email accounts. So we can actually take your old email account, your Gmail, your Yahoo, whatever, and we'll actually extract email addresses out of those for every single email, every single contact that you have in that database is someone that we can start monitoring. So that becomes a whole new window.
Okay, so you could even do that using that special offer that you shared earlier, the deduper thing with the audience. I'll pop it back up if I can get it. There it is. All right, guys. Okay, and Brian, final thoughts to the greenhorn who doesn't necessarily have a database. Tool strategies.
Yeah. A lot of people that know my business think that we recruit kind of these well producers, and we don't. Most of our loan officers come over newer in the business, and we help build them up. And honestly, this doesn't really have anything to do with technology, but the fastest way to build a business very quick is to go and aggressively start building referral partner relationships. You could, if you were really hungry, you could have breakfast, coffee, lunch, and dinner or cocktail every day with a new realtor. That's 4 a day. That's 20 a week. And you may not be the best of it out front. You may not be that impressive to them. You may still be making your mistakes and not be the greatest loan officer in your market yet. You may need a little bit more repetition to do that. But you're going to find some who are going to like you and who are going to work with you and who are going to trust you. And despite all the different tools that we have, most realtors or home builders, they're talking to a high volume of new home buyers every single day of their life. And so if you can get in that trusted relationship, you can turn the spigot on much quicker. So that's the first thing that we do. Our loan officers, kind of the first phase when they come into our model, is we help them build up their referral base. We had a great loan officer in yesterday that has 8 referral partners. And we went through some coaching with them, said, okay, well, now you need to go get 42 more. To hit your goals, you need 50 referral partners. And then after that, and after he runs that system for a year or two, then then your database gets nice and fat, and you can really begin to live off that. My wife is also a top loan officer. She'll close about 100 to 150 deals a year purely out of her database, just out her past clients and client referrals. So big business out of that in time, but you got to, the quickest way to get lift immediately is through referral partners.
Absolutely. And guys, it's stuff like this. I'll piggyback on that final comment. Part of the reason we encourage you to like, share, post, re-invite, use any of the widgets that are here in the platform to share this with as many of the business partners in your community. Because yes, this was originator focused, but these are tried and true concepts that are going to be of significant value to any realtor, insurance agent, financial planner, CPA, or anybody else in your community who is interacting with customers at the time where they are likely to be experiencing some of those housing change needs. And that's really what it's all about. It's about getting the right information to the right people at the right time and not pestering everybody else to death, right? So that you can focus your energy and effort on creating value for those who really need, want, and will appreciate the value that you as a mortgage professional or advisor would have available to them. So with that as kind of a parting thought, I'm going to say we're going to probably go ahead and close out on today's event. As a big thank you from the Originator Connect Network staff, the online engagement team, Mike, Chris, Brian, you guys did an amazing job today. We'd love to have you back on the series. Audience, this is kind of your final call, last call for typing any additional questions or comments into the Q&A. And for also, if you would like to go ahead and share this platform or this program with anybody else, just go ahead and hit that refer a colleague widget, the one that looks like a little paper airplane, and that'll allow you to go ahead and automatically share. We'd love to hear more from you about the information you'd love to hear more about in upcoming webcast events. Remember, our only goal here at the Originator Connect Network is to be a valuable resource to you, to give you the information and tools that are going to help you grow your business exponentially. So if there's anything myself or the rest of the team here at the Originator Connect Network can do to help you in that effort, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask, because that's really our only desire, is helping you get from where you are to where you want to be as fast as humanly possible. So, folks, with that being said, we'll leave the platform open just for another couple of seconds. Go ahead and get those last couple of comments in. You can also, by the way, leave those comments in the exit survey that'll pop up here in just a few seconds. Panelists, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with our audience here just before we check out?
Thank you guys for your time. I know it's busy, so we appreciate you taking the time out to hear us, hawk our wares and hopefully add some value at the same time.
Yeah, I think all three of us, all four of us want to help you grow your business and your bottom line and your ROI and increase efficiencies with automation and leveraging tools and data. So if that's sort of the direction that you want to go, growing the business through automation and intelligence and tools, I think you should take the next step and come chat to all or some of us.
Hey, these guys did a great job. Thanks again for showing up. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call any one of the three of us. Good luck, guys. Get out there and do some good work.